40 minutes with Yolanda. We have our buddy Keith Smith for about 10 or 12 minutes. I think this is going to be quite an impactful interview. How we got to this point was a fantastic comment that Yolanda left on our Facebook and Instagram that had me thinking over the course of a 24-hour period. And then I reached out to her and I said, I'd love to talk about your comment. And here we are today. This is going to be an interview where you, the viewer, can participate in the discussion by sharing your comments on any of the social media platforms you're watching the show upon, or by shooting me a DM, a text, if you know me, whatever it may be. As long as it's respectful, we will relay them on air. I don't think, and I don't want to speak for her, but I don't think either of us is opposed to tough questions as long as they follow the golden rule mentality. Give the show a like and a share wherever you're watching. We will welcome on our heat map now Charlotte, North Carolina to the program. Folks outside Nashville, Northern Virginia, in Fairfax, Arlington, and McLean watching the show. Our friends in Richmond on the broadcast. The family from Long Island is watching the show. Hello, guys. I miss you guys already. We have on the heat map J-Dubs 5 different states watching the show. Give it a like and a share. We'll get started shortly. Of course, we're presented and powered by Ting Fiber Internet. The best in the business is Ting Fiber Internet. Is it loveseville.ting.com now, J-Dubs?
I think it's just a second.
Yeah, let me know, and we'll make sure we get that out correctly.
ilove.ting.com.
Okay, fantastic. We have a promotion where you can save $289 and get the best internet at the best price through ilove.ting.com. More on that in a matter of moments. J-Dubs, my friend, I think we can get rocking and rolling. I see you as well, Williamsburg. I haven't forgotten about you, Williamsburg, Virginia, and certainly not Newport News and Hampton. Hello, Newport News and Hampton. Welcome to the broadcast. We love you guys. Just because we didn't say your name doesn't mean we've forgotten about you. J-Dubs, we can rock and roll when you're ready.
Quiet on the set.
Good Monday afternoon, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love Seville show. Thank you kindly for joining us on a glorious day to be alive, guys. We're live in Charlottesville, in the Commonwealth, and across the country on the I Love Seville network. We're presented and powered by Ting Fiber Internet, the best in the business, and it's not even close. Ting Fiber Internet. J-Dubs, if you can get on screen the link where folks can save $289 on Ting, ilove.ting.com, the best internet at the best price, and it's not even close, ilove.ting.com for that promotion. Judah Wickhauer is the fabulous director. He and I have worked together for, 8+ years now. Not only colleagues, but I see him as inner circle family. My friend, if you could go to the studio camera and we can welcome the very stylish this afternoon, Yolanda Coles-Jones to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well.
Good.
A lot I want to cover. I found a comment that you left on our page last week, inspiring, thought-provoking, had me thinking. I will relay some of it on air.
Sure.
Before I do, how about the question we ask all our guests first? Introduction to Yolanda Coles-Jones and what makes her tick.
Sure. Yolanda Coles-Jones. So in the world, I am a healing, wellness, and empowerment-centered coach, as well as an education consultant. So my work in the world is to walk alongside households, school systems, businesses, and to support folks in coming into conscious connection. And from that place of connection, we build confidence, we develop clarity, we realize calm, and we implement strategies for success. So in the personal growth space, I'm actually known as the Calm and Thrive Coach. And so when people hear calm, they tend to think that it's always this element of serenity no trouble, no problems, no anything, when really the idea behind what I do and sort of this leads into what makes me tick is appreciation for many things being true at once. In hard times and in challenging times especially, being able to be present to what is with us. And so allowing those things to help inform how we move and how we breathe and how we act and interact with one another. So that's what's important to me. Relationship is important to me. And so that happens to be where I work, in the area that I work in.
You have the gift of human connection.
Yeah.
I think us as humans undoubtedly crave human connection. I think most, if not
Yeah.
all. Certainly through a pandemic, we have missed, at least, I don't want to speak for you, but me, missed the energy, the thought-provoking aspect of human connection. Could you maybe put human connection in perspective for what it means to you?
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, it is my work. So I work in the space of connecting with people. Also, together with my husband and business partner, I'm raising 4 children. So there's a lot of space for growth and connection and exploration there as well. Also, friendship is important to me. So being able to realize what it means to be present dynamically throughout all of life's seasons and spaces, and being true to who we are as individual people, and also recognizing what makes other people tick, what their stories are, and meeting in those spaces as well.
I'm a huge energy person, and I find your energy calming. I find your energy, I'm attracted to it. I find your energy relaxing, compelling. I'm sure you've heard this from other people as well, all the time.
The calm coach, yeah.
How about the importance of energy like this and times like today in a community like Charlottesville? And then from there, I want to read a comment that you posted that I found challenging and needed.
Yeah.
First, energy.
Yeah, I mean, I think energy is what enables us to feel safe or not. Energy enables us to unfold or not. And in that unfolding is where we can truly see one another. And so in order for you to feel safe enough to be vulnerable and allow yourself to be seen, you have to feel safe. And energy helps to inform, the degree to which you're in fight, flight, freeze mode, or the degree to which you are able to tune into what's true for you, and also allow for room, spaciousness around the fullness of the experience for yourself and for whoever else you happen to be in relationship with.
Well said. Well said. Here's the comment.
Okay.
She posted this on our Instagram and our Facebook. It was in response to some of the activity that's been swirling in the community around Mayor Nikia Walker's poem. First, the comment. Peace, Jerry. Just a few minutes in to share here. 3 of the 3 questions you ask around the 42-minute marker of your podcast provoke thought that are closed as opposed to open-ended. I 100% get that you and many in this community are stirred and triggered by Mayor Walker's word choices. I see and sense your personal great love for Charlottesville. I respect the fact that this is your personal platform and you have autonomy to use it as you see fit. You mentioned having willingness to talk about solutions. Your being a professional conversationalist gives you a unique opportunity to create, quote, a green light, quote, space for ideas to be exchanged. As the facilitator of such a space, your ability to navigate your justified emotions in order to honor them for yourself, while also honoring and holding space and possibility for the same of another, is what moves the room for dialogue from the uncomfortable yellow zone, where emotions like shame, anger, fear, indignation are high, to either the open-ended green space where connection, dialogue, and solutions can flow, or the brick wall red space where we stay in our heat and ultimately our insular experiences. What kind of space do you want your show to be? ? I read it, I thought about it, I digested it, I had a conversation with my wife, my better half, by far my better half. And she said, this is needed. Why don't you invite her on the program and let's talk about it. I look to her for that North Star guidance. She's my best friend. We're here today. The show is yours.
The show is mine. Yeah, well, I mean, I'll redirect the question to you. How do you respond? What kind of show is it that you want? Here in Charlottesville, you've ran down all of these platforms that you are occupying and all of the ears that are attuned to you in this moment even. And so, yeah, the question there at the end is what kind of show, what kind of space do you want this container to be, in that it impacts the larger conversation, particularly the one that's happening right now around Mayor Walker's comments? What is it that you envision for the space?
I want the show to be a space of thought-provoking commentary. I want the show to be a space where folks of any background or skin color can come here and have a conversation like this. I want the show to be a space where we can disagree with each other, but we can do it in respectful fashion, where we both leave our chairs and saying, you know, he or she may not have agreed with everything I said, but we had a conversation where the viewer and the listener left feeling either more empowered or more knowledgeable or more fulfilled. I want the space and the show to be one of courage. I want the show to be one that is unafraid to have real talk, unafraid to have the conversations that matter. I don't want the show to be fluff. I want the show to talk about stuff that can potentially push the community forward. And to tie it to the mayor's poem, I was taken aback by the word choice. I think, and I don't want to speak for her, I'm certainly not doing that. The intent of her poem was very deep, and there was a lot to unpack. But the word choice, for me, was difficult for me to overcome.
Yeah. Does that feel to you like where you are stuck at the place of being unable to overcome the word choice? What level of openness do you have to that depth that you mentioned just a few moments ago, behind whatever she might have intended with the symbolism that she used? Do you feel like, what is it that you're feeling at this point? With, you said you were unable to overcome her word choice. Is that where you still feel you are residing, or have you journeyed beyond that? What feels most true for you?
Yes. I'm unable to overcome the word choice.
Okay.
And why I am unable to overcome the word choice is, and this is just me.
Sure.
Is I thought the word choice was divisive and not reflective of the position of mayor. And from just only my standpoint, I see the mayor as a position of champion of the community and as one that is of the North Star of the community. She has a tremendous platform. I cannot possibly understand what it's like to walk in her shoes, nor will I even. I'm willing to listen to try to understand and listen to learn, but I'm a white man with tremendous privilege. And I'm very well aware of that. I feel, and I'll throw it back to you, that the mayor could have gone about this as, we have tremendous problems in this community, but as mayor, I'm going to try to come up with solutions to solve those problems, as opposed to utilizing word choice, because we know perception is reality in the age of social and digital.
Sure.
As opposed to using word choice that the majority of the community seems unable to get beyond.
So then my question to you is, I feel like I'm hearing you say that you are most bothered by the word choice coming from the position of mayor. So
That's correct.
So the position of mayor for you has Can you say more about the meaning that that position has that has you so stirred
Absolutely.
and bothered? Yeah.
I feel as if the mayor of any community, and not just Charlottesville, should be its biggest champion and its most prominent evangelist. And the mayor is not an activist. The mayor is a leader of nearly 50,000 people in a 10.2 square mile city. And unfortunately, from my standpoint, I don't see what's happening as leadership. I see it as divisive.
Say more about what you feel, the divisiveness that you are describing comes from what in your perspective?
Well, and I don't want to use, I'm not going to use the R word or the C word that was in the poem. We've covered that. I heard from many women and even one or two men about what the R word does from a conjuring feelings standpoint. I initially, last week, described it as how many females has this impacted, the R word? And then I was surprised with how many, and it was two, but I was surprised that two men reached out and said, please don't trivialize the pain we're going through because we're males. Males can be impacted by sexual assault as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when I heard that, I was like, oh, right?
Yeah.
So much to unpack. So I feel like, to answer your question, the mayor position is not an activist position. It's a position of North Star leadership, taking the community to more promising potential.
So what comes to mind for me, and so I'm not here also, I want to name that I'm not here to discuss whether or not I personally agree or disagree with Mayor Walker's word choice. I think what feels most important to me is, because my direct comment was to you as this person who's holding the container for conversation, how can you be that container and have the space be open, have there be spaciousness to consider many things being true at one time. So I actually watched the rest of your interview after I left that comment and heard that you named that there were 12 women who contacted you, and now additionally these two men and perhaps others. I wonder how curious or how open you can be to the possibility of there being another population of the world. We can bring it back into the focus, zooming on into Charlottesville, if we're not thinking about the word. How many people in Charlottesville, or who are impacted by what's happening in Charlottesville or has historically happened in Charlottesville, might also be having an experience emotionally and physically that is linked to that word, to the symbolism, to the imagery, and be responding in a different way than the ones that contacted you? How open do you feel you can be to the consideration of that being true?
I'm very open. I'm very, very open. My primary concern is her platform. And I've said on the show so many times that I've admired her tenacity. I can't imagine being a black female growing up in a town like Charlottesville that has a history of tremendous racism. The destruction of Vinegar Hill speaks for itself, a microcosm of that racism. I can't imagine being an independent running for council at a time when the Democratic Party has a stranglehold on politics in Seville. I can't imagine being an African-American female running for an elected position fresh off August 12th, 2017. And I can't imagine being an African-American female on a city council with 4 other white people that have tremendous privilege. My primary issue with what happened was not the words, but the words coming from the position.
From the position, yeah.
That's my concern.
So what if the position and holding it also means, what if everything that you just ran down being true, all of that being true, what if that position also brings with it the responsibility to speak for a broader truth? What if Nakiah is a symbol for not just herself, you mentioned awareness of activism, but what if in this position she's able to bring to light more than Vinegar Hill, what's true today, what has been true? You mentioned the verbiage, the word choice that she used. What if she's pointing to something that could be taken very literally as well as figuratively, and also speaks to the presence of people who do feel that it's true? What if that is also true about Charlottesville?
I think what she said is true of Charlottesville.
Okay.
I think what she said is,
How do you feel about that? If that is, how do you feel about what she said then possibly being true for Charlottesville? How would you respond to that?
I think Charlottesville has tremendous aspects of its history that it must come to terms with before we evolve, heal, and become the community we want.
To you, what does that look like?
I mentioned this last week. There's nothing I would want more than my little boy to grow up in as diverse, as eclectic, and as well-rounded a community as possible.
Well, what do you feel that looks like in practical terms? What does it look like?
For me, it looks like equity in schools. COVID has magnified educational disparities. We have private schools that had business as usual, with students learning in a classroom amongst their peers as if COVID never happened. And we have public schools. The spring semester of 2020 was a wash, where if you ask most parents, they say the second semester in 2020, what did our kids even learn? Fall semester of 2020, the schools, public, got a little bit better because they learned from the spring. But you take the spring semester of 2020 and the fall semester of 2020, the semesters of last year, and you compare them to, say, what St. Anne's Belfield, the Covenant School, Miller School, Blue Ridge School, and these private schools went through, the students that went to the private school are on grade, they're on subject, and they're learning like they're supposed to. The students that went to public school, you can make a legitimate argument that did not happen. I think equity in education is critically important. How can we prepare the next generation to be the leaders we need them if they lost potentially a year of their educational life?
Right.
Another concern I have is the cost of housing. Entry point starter homes in the city of Charlottesville are north of $350,000. Are we going to create a Charlottesville that is a white rich playground? Or are we going to create a Charlottesville that can be enjoyed by all walks of life? And I'm going to relate it to Hershey, Pennsylvania. The founder of the Hershey Chocolate Factory, this man was a tremendous visionary. He built a company, Hershey, that is the identity of the town. And he did it in a way where the CEO, the CMO, the CFO, whatever the C-suite executives are, they are living next and amongst the factory worker, the candy bar packager.
Okay.
And the CEO of Hershey said, I want this community, because he realized the influence he had in creating this community to be one of diversity and eclectic thought. And how you get diversity and eclectic thought, you come out your front door. This is just one example. You come out your front door, maybe you're grabbing your newspaper, you're checking your mailbox. You're having a conversation with someone over the picket fence. And that conversation with someone over the picket fence is a conversation that perhaps you hadn't thought of. Words you hadn't thought of.
Is the person on the other side of the picket fence living the same sort of life you're living? What does that neighborhood look like where eclectic ideas and different experiences can be exchanged in a way that feels natural and safe?
I think the person in the example I gave, that's on the other side of the picket fence, comes from a very different walk of life than the CEO.
And how did they get to a neighborhood where the fence is picketed and they're able to be next door to someone who has that same lifestyle
Because
and home establishment.
the person who was the architect of the community and the most influential realized the value proposition of a diverse neighborhood. The most influential person in our community is Mayor Nakia Walker. There's two kinds of influence. There's influence that comes with money, and then there's influence that comes from power. Money can be earned. Power is very different than money.
Let me ask you, this lyric comes to mind because it's popular and I often hear my husband saying it. You can't heal what you don't reveal, right? So you're talking about a scenario where there is ease of connection, there's thoughtfulness, there's awareness, there's recognition of differences. And I wonder, and please share your thoughts, if you feel that Charlottesville is in a space where there has been a notable enough, critical mass enough amount of recognition, of acknowledgement, of naming the things that aren't going well, the things that have been detrimental and damaging to groups that may not be the ones that are featured in a space like this one regularly, the ones that maybe can't afford to go into the shops like those in Stonefield or here on the downtown mall, can't eat at those restaurants on a regular basis. Maybe they're the folks who are mopping the floors and serving the food and generationally in low-income housing and unable to move with the same amount of mobility. Do you feel that we're at a space where those people's voices and those experiences have been heard, and not just heard, but actually sat with and received, so that we can come to a shared understanding of not just an experience like the ones in the vineyards and the ones in the higher end restaurants or even the mom and pop shops that are able to thrive right now? Do you feel that we're in a space where everyone's voice has been heard with that equity that you mentioned?
Absolutely not.
Okay. What do you think will get us there? Like, what does it take to get to a space where there is more listening, where there is more space, where there is this
opportunity, more opportunity?
So, what do those opportunities look like?
I think what's going to get us there is leadership, and that's why I personally feel compelled to run for office, and I will do that. I think I'll pose this hypothetical scenario, okay? Instead of using potentially language that a large portion of the community could not get beyond, which I don't want to assume, that's why I'm asking. I think we may both be in agreement that a large portion of this community could not get beyond the language.
I don't know what portions, because I haven't looked at the numbers. I definitely recognize that there's a notable amount of people. I also recognize that there are many
that got beyond it and
that were able.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, because I have not spoken to all of those people. I can say that I know that there's a significant population that is of the mind to consider, well, what is she saying? What does she mean? And to sincerely, thoughtfully, and critically be asking that question and looking into what is the mayor talking about? Not so much having extreme focus. Maybe there is emotionality behind seeing the word choice that feels offensive to some and not to others, or also, it's appalling to some, but they're able to see, okay, well, what if I took all of the emotional sturdiness that comes from this phrase and applied it to whatever it is she might be talking about? What is she talking about that she feels matches in symbolism, in emotional sturdiness to the phrase that she did use? So I don't know how many people are upset by it to the point where they are stuck at it, but I know that it's comparable. I imagine it also being comparable to the amount of people who are
on both sides
curious. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I completely agree. You said that better than I could. I completely agree with you. Here's the hypothetical I was going to pose is, imagine that in this hypothetical, if Mayor Nakia Walker utilized her platform and said, we have this history of Vinegar Hill. we have this history of Confederate statues in public parks. We have this evolution of a community that clearly is turning into white and wealthy. Over 70% of the city of Charlottesville is white. With the ubiquitous nature of working from home and utilizing ISPs to make big city salaries like Washington, D.C., but living in a town like Charlottesville because the quality of life is better and the cost of living is lower. That trend of Charlottesville being more wealthy is going to only have more momentum behind it. We have folks that are moving to this community that have jobs in D.C.
Right.
but are living in Charlottesville,
Yeah.
and they sold their $1 million townhome to buy a 5,000 square foot home and bank $250,000 and now they're earning a DC salary in Charlottesville. Can you imagine the possibility of the mayor acknowledging all these things and saying, this is what I'm going to do to acknowledge our history, and these are the solutions I'm going to put in play to take the community forward? If that approach was taken by Mayor Nakia Walker, she'd be able to walk on water and take 3 loaves and a couple of fishes and feed the thousands.
Are you in this vision that you're holding, is she saying that in a more public way than you imagine her to possibly be doing behind the scenes?
Right. I think it has to be public. Like, you take what's happening now. She is gone to Councilor Lloyd Snook's Facebook page literally this morning and posting screenshots of private one-on-one conversations she's having with him for everyone in the community to read. Screenshots of personal meetings mentioning him as a lawyer and a trial that involved her daughter and family. Utilizing white supremacist language and talking about his wife who was a former judge. That's literally happening right now on Lloyd Snook's Facebook page.
What are you taking to be, I haven't seen the post that you're talking about. What are you taking to be white supremacist language, and what bothers you the most about her having this exchange with him? Does it still come back to the platform for you? What happens for you? What if this is on the mayor's behalf an expression of frustration or a cry to be heard? What if the attempts being made behind closed doors are not being received in the way that you are saying that you would be open to receiving and hearing and listening? What if that's not the reality for her? And so at this point, it's like, everyone, here we are. What if that's true?
It very well could be, but unfortunately, in 2021, perception is reality.
What does that mean in this situation?
Well, the perception from a good chunk of the community is her word choice is dividing, as opposed to creating a magnet for positivity and vision. Another example is housing. Last week she did a post of a very tiny cottage, I think it was in Belmont, and put the price tag that was over $400,000. And in the comment she said, I don't have a solution for this. We've elected and entrusted 5 people to figure out solutions. And I think, and just one man talking here, I think what's happening is activism and leadership. Activism and being the mayor are 2 different roles. We need Nakia Walker and activism so much. We need activists. We need to figure out how we're going to manage this history of destruction of Vinegar Hill, of literally having Confederate statues in public parks, in front of a courthouse, right?
That's some of it, yeah.
Yeah, we need to figure out why when folks go downtown, it's 90, I don't know the percentage, it's a hell of a lot more white people than black people in downtown Charlottesville.
You don't have to tell me.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even close, right?
Yeah.
We need to figure out why the University of Virginia has not acknowledged its racist past and how the serpentine walls that are down the lawn, they aren't there from an architectural purpose. They were there to hide slaves from students.
Right.
We need to acknowledge this.
Yeah.
But we can acknowledge it and figure out a solution and a path forward. And the person who is able to do that will be immortalized in history forever.
What if calling attention to the fact that it's not happening in a way that feels like it can be a stepping stone to that realization of healing that you describe? What if that's where we are? What if, as ugly and as uncomfortable and as disgusting and you use the word divisive, what if the polarization, what if all of this is part of it?
We are now, this is the end of March. There's 9 months left in her first term. She's been on the job 3 years and 3 months. And for 3 years and 3 months, she is not, my standpoint, my viewpoint, just one person talking here, not speaking for anyone else. In 3 years and 3 months, she's drawn tremendous attention to this. Tremendous,
To what?
To the problems we have.
Okay.
Tremendous attention.
Okay.
I have not heard these are the solutions forward. I've seen for 3 years and 3 months, essentially, to use a metaphor, someone with the loudest bullhorn, and that's what the mayor has. The platform is she's the voice for the community.
Sure.
For 3 years and 3 months, I've seen we have to fix this, this is messed up, our history's wrong, and she's right. She's freaking right. But in 3 years and 3 months, I have not seen, here's where we're gonna go. This is what we're gonna do to solve it. Here's how we come together. This is what we're gonna do to acknowledge our history, which is disturbing, depressing, demoralizing, and downright downtrodden. And we're gonna go forward this way. It's more to leadership than just saying, look at everything that's wrong. Leadership is figuring out the solution to go forward. And that's my biggest gripe with the leadership tactics she's chosen.
And so what bothers you the most is the absence of solution presentation.
Yes.
Okay. When it comes to the space that you're holding here, do you feel in your container that you've had a good deal, and I don't know, so I'm asking you sincerely because I haven't been tracking. Do you feel that you've held a good amount of conversation and space for voices like the ones Nakia is putting herself forth to be champion for? Do you feel that you've had a lot of space to hear from those people and to be really tuned in and dialed into the experience that they might express, or that individuals who might be really resonating, Nakia's comments may resonate with them? Do you feel that you've had like a lot of folks, if you're looking back across the time that you've been I Love CVille in this space, this very public audience, do you feel that you've had openness and diversity in the audiences and the conversations that you've had?
Absolutely, 100% yes.
Yes.
Without question. All our shows are archived on social media and on ilovecville.com. And anyone can go to the website or any platform and see the tremendous diversity in our guest list.
Diversity means what to you?
Diversity means different schools of thought, different backgrounds, different skin colors, different financial opportunities, different levels of affluence and influence. We have the only Latino show, one of two Latino shows, one of two, in Charlottesville that air on our network. We go out of our way to make the show as well-rounded in perspective as possible, because I want folks that watch the program to be challenged and even made uncomfortable. Because if we're challenged and made uncomfortable, that's how we will grow as humans.
So I hear you. And so now I'm curious to know like what it might look like to, because I think I saw that you reached out to Maya Walker.
I've invited her on this show numerous times.
Okay.
She refuses to come on. She's come on once. After she came on the show, we do a photo with our guests, and this was before COVID. And it's a photo to essentially say, hey, here's who was on the show, right? It puts a face to the show. Before COVID, all the photos included a handshake on camera with me and the guests. Only one time in the history of doing this, which has been nearly 3 years, has the guest refused to shake my hand on camera. And that's what happened. An absolute refusal on camera to shake my hand because it was on camera and could be documented and live in perpetuity online.
And that made you feel?
That made me feel, initially I was taken aback. Initially I did not understand. And then my mindset pivoted. And it pivoted because I cannot understand what it's like to walk in her shoes. And because I cannot understand what it's like to walk in a black woman's shoes in a city like Charlottesville that has tremendous history of racism, I then have to say, well, that is her right. And everyone has their own right. And it's R-I-G-H-T here. One thing I've learned from COVID is every mom and every dad, parent, person has their own right in that moment, because we don't know what they're dealing with from a vulnerability standpoint, an uncertainty or fear standpoint. Suicide, you know this is what you do for a living. Suicide's all-time high right now. Alcohol and drug abuse, all-time high right now. We take a species, which humans are, and we quarantine them, and we keep them away from their family and their friends, and we tell them to stay inside because we don't know what the hell's going on. That's going to impact folks' mental health.
And so you were able to leave the interaction recognizing her right, but how did you feel? Since you've brought it up as being something that is a part of the context that's here, and inviting her into a space of conversation that would feel safe to both of you.
I initially felt extremely confused because it's the first time in my life, and I'm nearly 40 years old, that someone has refused to shake my hand. And then that confusion metamorphosized, evolved into, Jerry, you don't know what it's like to be a black woman in a southern city that grew up in a very different circumstance than you.
When did things become venomous from your perspective?
With whom?
Either. At what point did it become venomous to the point where this container, the I Love Seville show, and you as its facilitator, became a space that she would decline an invitation to?
I think 5 seconds after Judah Whitcower, our director, said, mics are off, the show is off air.
It became venomous from your perspective?
Not from me.
Okay.
But her to me.
So then if...
I truly don't think Mayor Nakia Walker likes me at all. And from my standpoint, what I'm doing with this platform is having real conversations. And I point out her how she goes about, let's just talk how she housing. If the proposals that are presented before council do not match what she wants to a T, or not perfect in her eyes, she won't approve them. So the developers just build the housing by right. And by right development in the city of Charlottesville is standalone single-family homes that are $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. It's perfection is the enemy of productivity and production.
And you've approached Nakaya to talk along those lines.
Many times. Perhaps when you came here, you were uncertain where the show or the interview would go.
Absolutely, yeah.
Would you feel that it's been, how would you characterize it so far?
I think we're in a space of still coming to clarity. I don't know that I feel that we've even touched the surface, really. Really, it's just a matter of feeling one another out in this moment. You asked the question, why?
Yeah. Would you feel I've been fair?
I feel that you've been present in answering my questions. I don't know that you've been fair or unfair because I don't know that we've reached anything substantive just yet. So I don't have a deduction on that.
Understood. Would you feel as if I've been antagonistic to you?
Not to me personally, no, not in this moment.
I think anyone who's seen the hundreds of thousands of hours that we've aired here would realize that antagonistic behavior and or shock jock tactics are not a part of what I do.
Oh, well, then I have to stop you.
Please.
Because I did watch the video where you responded to Mayor Nakaya's comments, and which was the whole reason that I sent you a message or wrote that note in the first place.
Sure.
Was this is not saving that you are having your own emotional response, which is rightful and belongs. There was also a lot of leading questions towards the audience, so that there was an opportunity to have, just openness to there being space that doesn't back someone into a particular perspective or corner. I didn't, go through the interview and make notes because I didn't come here to antagonize you or to dissect that. But my response to that video was what prompted me to say, hey, I thought this was a space where you are having these open dialogues and you are open to listening, and we're not trying to attack an individual as much as we are trying to figure out how we reach a highest goal for the city.
What is the highest
working
goal for
together.
the city?
I think the highest goal is to have a fair and even perspective and equity, as you mentioned, being able to heal by naming and addressing the things that have made it hard for us to have that equity, impossible for some, near impossible. Being able to lay it all out on the table and come to a plan that works and fits everyone in a way that is most possible and most good. I don't think that attacking the mayor or attacking you necessarily either. I'm not here for attacks. That's just not my MO.
Sure.
I think conversation is how we exchange ideas.
Yes.
I don't think that policing one another in ways that...
You're talking tone policing.
I'm talking about tone policing. I'm talking about if a person is expressing... So even you were very upset in the video that I watched. I think that your upset belongs.
Emotional.
Is that you would say you were not upset?
I would say I was emotional first. I would say I was vulnerable.
Sure. Anytime we're emotional, we're vulnerable.
And it sounds so cheesy and cliche, but a man crying on camera,
Yeah, I mean,
after the show, I was like, I cried on,
Sure.
Part of me
because
was
if
disappointed
you
with
felt
myself.
you felt strongly.
Yeah.
Would you say that feels true? You felt strongly?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't even think that you feeling strongly is something that anyone needs to police. The reason I contacted you was because you switched gears and you were asking your audience to think. And the way that you were helping to guide your audience into thought was not open-ended. And I watched another video that you did 2 days ago where you were also saying, I'm going to ask you open-ended questions. And almost all the questions were not open-ended. They were closed-ended, so pointing in a particular direction of thought. And so that's why I'm here. That's why you invited me to come here. But that's what moved me to reach out to you. It was like, hey, Jerry, I think I know about you to be someone who wants to be thoughtful, who wants to be open, who wants to facilitate dialogue and have ideas be exchanged. I don't see that happening all the way through these videos.
Fair.
I don't see you holding space for people to come to their own conclusions. I see you moving in what is your rightful emotion, and with that emotion, also driving the thoughts in the way that you're posing the questions for those who are listening to you. Obviously, there will be people who can decipher that and say, well, I agree or I disagree. Hopefully so. There are many critical thinkers in the world, especially with this wonderful university that I'm a graduate of. So, but what about the folks who aren't? What about the people for whom your voice does impart a good amount of influence? What about the people for whom this idea, this existence of Charlottesville has a lot of weight? And your show is named I Love Seville. There are all these businesses linked to you. Mm-hmm. And so this is an important space as well. So it felt to me that it would be important to inquire with you, because I was curious. Jerry, I'm seeing something that doesn't feel like it's in alignment with what you present to be your mission and your vision for the show based on the little that I know about you. And so that's why I'm here, sure. Is because I wonder why the mayor doesn't want to come. Mm-hmm. What is it about the space?
Well, she's chosen not to speak to any of the media.
Okay.
Yeah, not just me. She does not speak to the Progress, Seville, NBC 29, or CBS 19, and is solely utilizing her personal Facebook as the mechanism or vehicle for her commentary and ideas.
Well, I actually saw a video where she did do an interview in a space that she felt safe and addressed what she said line by line. So there are spaces that she feels safe enough.
In my humble opinion.
Yeah.
Yes, right. That was an exceptional video. I watched that too.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr.
So
Lewis was the host of that.
Right.
That was exceptional. And Mr. Lewis, you did a tremendous job. The questions I asked, I believe I remember two of them. Maybe help me remember the third. It was, would you read this poem to your children?
Sure.
That was the first, I believe.
I don't think you said, would you read it to your children? I think you said, do you look forward to talking about...
Or having the conversation with your children about the poem. That's correct.
Yeah.
The second question was, is this poem leading Charlottesville forward? Something along those lines.
Now I wish I had logged exactly what your questions were.
Judah, do you remember the three questions? But paraphrase at all?
It was about the children,
right,
and the conversations that parents would have.
Right,
it was
and leading forward.
It wasn't just leading forward. I wish I could come back with exactly what you said verbatim. I did not prepare that. Yeah.
You're a mom of four?
Sure.
Now you have children of different ages, and the oldest.
13, between 8 and 13.
8 and 13, right. 13 has a different maturity level than an 8-year-old.
Sure.
My kid's 3. I am such a rookie. I mean, you're like a Hall of Famer. I am like in single A baseball, and you're in Canton Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you have a conversation with your 13-year-old about that poem?
Yes, I have.
You have? Mm-hmm. How did that go?
It went just fine. I mean, we are...
Explaining the R word and the C word?
Sure.
You did?
We are not a family that shies away from ideas that they have questions about or that would be important for them to understand, especially coming into pubescence. As a 13-year-old, we teach a lot about body autonomy, consent, and so having an understanding of what this word means is important, not just for my daughters who are of age, but also for my sons. And so while we may not assign to it the same level of, it's not a derogatory word, it is obviously a violation. Obviously, I'm not diminishing the act itself. I know that words have power, and I know that understanding the knowledge and the meaning and the impact of words is also important. And I think it's important for my children who are between the ages of 8 and 13 to have awareness of the power of words. And so we don't shy away, especially when they have questions around what is this? Then we answer them in ways that are age appropriate, but still giving them exactly what this is. This is what this means. This is what it stands for. This is where this comes from, because they are also making their own journeys through the world and need that information as they're moving forward. So we didn't shy away. We don't shy away from that conversation.
Were you initially, when you read the poem, what were the feelings you had?
Again, I'm careful because I don't want to present myself or enter into this conversation with anyone making assumptions about how I feel about the mayor's comments. I did have an immediate response to what I imagined her to be talking about as a woman who was born and raised in Charlottesville, Albemarle County, who moves through the world as a woman with dark brown skin, who's first generation college, who, I know what she's talking about. So I didn't even take for granted. I felt that I knew what she was talking about behind the symbolism. And then I went to listen to the interview before I came here because I wanted to be sure. Just because I'm not gonna just jump into things.
You did your homework,
right?
Yeah.
So I felt that I knew what she was talking about. That's how I felt when I read it.
Did it create
whether or not I
any
agree or disagree?
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I'm sorry. No, yeah, go ahead.
Did it create any kind of reaction tied to word choice? Knowing the power of words.
Knowing the power of words, I knew that the word choice was going to be powerful. That I did have knowledge of. And as I mentioned earlier in our conversation, energy, which you've also mentioned, is important as well. So the word choice and the vibrations, the energy that each of those words brought with them. For me, if I looked at the energy objectively, and I looked very subjectively at my experience as a Black woman, my ancestral experience here in Virginia, then I understood, well, that vibration, I can say, matches what the experience has been. Whether or not I agree or disagree with how they were used, where they were, that's not part of it. What is true is that from my experience as a person of color moving through the world,
you could relate.
I could 100% relate.
Understood.
Yeah.
Charlottesville on what? Today is March 29th, 2021. Versus Charlottesville when you were an adolescent, young woman, UVA college student. How do you see it? Has it gotten better? Has it gotten worse?
I don't know, because I would have to answer that question for the entirety of the United States.
Well, you personally.
Yeah, no. I mean, I would have to answer it in consideration of the movement and the dynamics of. It's not cut and dry like that for the U.S., for Virginia, for Charlottesville, for Texas, for New York. It's just not that cut and dry. Have we made advancements and has there been progress? Absolutely. Are many things still exactly the same? A lot of them, yes. There is still a lot to be named, uncovered, acknowledged.
I'm going to say something so ballsy here.
Say your ballsy thing. Go for it.
I've been here since 2020. First year, Dabney 101, old dorms. Now, a dad, husband, business owner. In the nearly 21 years, because I got here in August for school. In the nearly 21 years I've been here, Charlottesville has not evolved.
You think it hasn't evolved?
Has not. Charlottesville has done even more of a disservice to the Black and brown community. I used to live my first year out of college on Little Graves, right behind Spudnuts in Belmont. Dead broke. Took a 2-bedroom house and 4 of us lived there. One of the buddies was climbing a rope ladder to the attic because we were able to chop up the rent because we had no money. That house, which I lived there for a year and a half, is worth nearly $500,000. Belmont has gone from a working class neighborhood to a white rich neighborhood, right? Fifeville, 10th and Page, and the Prospect neighborhood, the last three historically African American neighborhoods in a 10.2 square mile city, are going through gentrification before our very eyes. And these three neighborhoods will no longer be African American neighborhoods anymore.
Yeah.
They're going to be white folks from outside the area living in there. 21 years, nearly 21 years of being in this community, I see statues in public parks. I see the most important 8 blocks in this town consumed by white folks who have spending power. I see music. It's a live music mecca. Would we say the live music caters to all different people?
No. It's working on it. People are trying, but no, we're not there, which is what I'm
Where's the
saying.
venue for hip hop?
It's gone. Right.
Where's the venue for jazz? Fellini's went out of business.
Yeah.
The venue, and I'm drawing a blank here, by the ice park. Now the ice park is going to be a building for a hedge fund man to house his businesses that he's invested in. Where can a black person feel included in Charlottesville today?
That's a great question.
Where can a black and brown person feel included in Charlottesville today?
What, you asked this question because...
I just asked this question to make folks think.
Yeah. Well, where does the black mayor belong who's upset with what's happening?
I don't want to say where a black mayor belongs, just like I wouldn't say where a white mayor belongs.
Okay. Well, you are in many ways saying where this black mayor should, what this one should do, where she should go, how she should, like, so what would you say should happen with this black mayor? With this mayor? I mean, I don't know. I feel like we're
so quick to label.
It's not so quick to label, but I'm of the mind that Mayor Walker is the mayor, right? She also is a woman who is black woman, however she chooses to identify with her as, on her own. Each one of these labels carries its own, brings with it its own weight, brings with it its own story. She's in this role. She's also a woman who is black woman. This matters. What also matters is that she made it into the role. She's here. She is here for a reason. Somebody thought that she should be here.
A lot of people.
She's the mayor.
Yeah.
So what would you do then if that is true? If a lot of people thought maybe, what if they still think? Then what?
We're 3 years and 3 months into a 4-month campaign. Or, excuse me, we're 3 years and 3 months into a 4-year term.
Yeah.
She's done a tremendous job with shining a spotlight on the inequality, the dysfunction, and the lack of opportunity for black and brown people. Fantastic job. I have not seen solutions to create those opportunities.
And you're looking for the solutions to come solely from her?
No, ma'am. I'm looking for the solutions to come in part from her,
In
not
part.
solely.
Yeah.
In part. She's one of 5. We've had Mr. Jones, Mike Murphy, John Blair, Dr. Richardson, and now Chip Boyles. 5 city managers during her time. And I'm not saying that turnover is tied to her, but she is the mayor. And whether it's fair or not, when you have the moniker mayor, you have responsibility that someone who's a counselor does not, because of the moniker mayor, because of that moniker.
Aren't there kinds of mayorship, mayoral roles?
Strong mayor and weak mayor.
Right,
This is
and
a
then
weak
council. Okay, I thought
Yeah.
we were in a council. I can't think of the third term.
We're in a weak mayor system. The city manager.
Is it weak mayor?
Yeah, 100%. The city manager runs the city. The mayor is the board of advisors that oversees the city manager, who's the CEO, chief executive officer of Charlottesville. I wonder, I think about, like you, we think about a lot. You probably can't stop your mind from working, right? Like
I try. No,
No,
I try
I
to stop
try
it. I
too,
just have
right?
all these measures. Meditation helps me a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
And it can be exhausting, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so exhausting. Like I cannot, like 3:30 in the morning, I was up. I can't sleep. I sleep 3 hours a night. Literally.
You gotta get rest.
3 hours, like since I was 16, 12, I've been doing this.
Yeah.
And
There has to be spaciousness somewhere, somehow.
I wonder, Yolanda, what Mayor Walker's legacy is going to be. Is the legacy going to be the first black mayor in Charlottesville, Virginia history, who put a spotlight on the dysfunction and inequalities in this community? Or is that legacy going to be Mayor Nakia Walker, the first black mayor in Charlottesville, Virginia, who put a spotlight on inequality and dysfunction and then came up with solutions to close the wealth gap, educational gap, to create a downtown mall that's diverse and not dominated by white, to create a music scene that is eclectic, that caters to black and brown and not just white, to create a ecosystem that is breweries and winery. Do we have a single brewery or winery or vineyard in this town that is owned by a black or brown person?
We can get into that whole black ownership thing, black and brown ownership. It's deep. It's deep. It's deep. I wonder, the first example that you gave, what the mayor's, the possible legacies for the mayor, what is wrong with the first one?
What is wrong with being the first black mayor in Charlottesville that shined a spotlight on inequality and dysfunction?
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. But can you imagine being the first black mayor in Charlottesville, Virginia that shined a spotlight on inequality and dysfunction and then solved those? Then you
Sure.
can take
Both
loaves
are-
and fishes and feed the thousands and walk on water.
I think both would be notable and important.
The first step to solving the dysfunction and inequality in the community is to shine the spotlight on it.
Sure.
The next step is proof of performance in action.
Are you now putting these things in time frames?
Yeah, she has 4-year term.
What if
a clear
does
timeframe.
not every term build on the other, the term before? Does it completely eradicate what came before it?
If she gets reelected again,
I don't know. I'm asking you, in your mind, is it cumulative? Is everyone's work impacting and moving us forward into something or backwards or whatever the case? Or like which one feels more true? Or is it possible that both can be true for both scenarios? That either one of those legacies that you mentioned could be building upon what came before, what predecessors accomplished on behalf of the city. What if, you just said it's completely fine for the first one to be true. So why are you so bothered by, what's the word that you used earlier? You said not bothered, not upset.
demoralized, downtrodden, disturbed,
Yeah.
downright
Sure.
depressed?
Yeah, by that first example that you list.
Because I'm a solutions-oriented person. And
But you have a time frame that you've assigned to the solutions.
her time frame is a 4-year term.
But what if the 4-year term, for any person who's serving a term in leadership, what if in that term they're only able to bring what you've said would be acceptable, like to have a legacy that you've used in your words that doesn't also bring about solutions, or maybe doesn't have time to arrive, maybe has not made the connections, whatever the case, to also come to the point of solution, it would be acceptable in your eyes to also, based on what you've said, be the person who shone the light. Then why then do you feel that both things have, like, where is it coming? Do you see the difference? Like you said, one, there has to be a solution also with the shining of the light. It's also okay for there to just be the shining of the light. So which one feels
Good question.
more
Good
true?
question. We're 3 years and 3 months in. We still have Confederate statues in public parks. We're 3 years and 3 months in. affordable housing hasn't improved.
Do you, if I can stop you for just
Sure.
a moment, do you think that the undoing or that the refocusing or restructuring the things that you've named is something that can be accomplished
100%.
in that amount of time, in addition to whatever other work needs to be done?
I'm quite confident. I'm quite confident that there are many solution-oriented individuals, including myself, that could do things to bring the community together in a different form.
I hear you. Yeah, I hear you.
I'm quite confident that, what's the phrase? Honey and vinegar? What's the phrase, Judah?
You get more flies, you get more bees with honey than vinegar.
Get more bees with honey than vinegar. The utilization of vinegar has its place. The utilization of honey has its place. Creating a combination of vinegar and honey, from my standpoint, is the best way to get things done.
Sure. Is it possible for you to enter into the space where you're ready to run for your term and also hold space for the completion of the term that's come before you
Absolutely.
without being disparaging to
Oh,
that
yeah.
term?
Absolutely. 100%. A lot of folks don't know this about me. My last name is Miller. My mom's name is Maria Gomez. My Mima and my papi and my mom, born in Cuba. My mom, in the 3rd grade, was told by Mima and papi, put everything that you can in a bag. We're leaving just after midnight on this boat to go to Miami, Florida, because Castro's come to Cuba and he's murdering the people that believe in democracy. And Mima, papi, and my mom went from Havana and a middle-class life to Mima being a hotel maid, papi being a ditch digger, and my mom, since she was 13, having to work to help cover the household bills. She was put in 3rd grade, unable to speak English in an English-speaking school, and was ridiculed so much, she couldn't understand the ridicule, but kids know when they're being made fun
You
of.
can feel it, yeah.
She was ridiculed so much that when we have conversations about this now, she's 70. She still gets emotional. That is some kind of version of PTSD.
Absolutely, yeah.
So while my mom and my dad gave my brother and I a childhood and a foundation that we are so fortunate and lucky. But we're very well aware of what Mima, Papi, and Maria Gomez went through coming to the United States as Cubanos. They couldn't speak English and didn't have a nickel to their name. Papi died. Mima died first. Papi died. He left a few $1,000s of his life savings to my brother and I, with the sole use of that money for college education, because he wanted his grandkids to get what he could not provide my mother, who was a community college graduate. And there's nothing wrong with community college. I'm not marginalizing it. But the value of a University of Virginia education, as we both know, is invaluable. And part of that has to do with Papi Esteban Gomez and Romelia Gomez, who saved the little salaries of a hotel maid and a ditch digger, and a few $1,000s of life savings that they gave to their grandsons. And that resonates with me. And I think about it all the time.
As you should. That's your story. It's your heritage. Absolutely. So I think my question remains in consideration of words I've seen across your platform, spoken, the monologues that you shared in the course of the last week that had your personal response in addition to, and in the personal response, there have been comments that speak to education levels belonging to the mayor, speak to work history belonging to the mayor, in ways that feel like they are pointing to a lack of ability, a lack of experience.
I will straight
a
up
lack
say
of,
it. Comments have come in the feed
Yeah.
by people I know and don't know that have been straight up racist.
Sure. I'm speaking about your comments, from your comments about the mayor.
My comments, where I come from, my comments, is my comments came from the heart, came from a place that is for the betterment of the community, came from a place of honesty.
Sure.
Having those conversations and doing those shows last week, all the response to it hasn't been positive.
Yeah.
The response to me has been, I don't even want to acknowledge them, but responses that have been terrifying, fearful, make you feel small, make you feel uncertain and unsafe. You know?
Absolutely.
And I don't want to talk too much about them because I don't want to put momentum behind them, if you may.
Yeah, no, I'm not asking you to do any of that.
Yeah.
I'm curious more so about how we get from the legacies that you offer as options, possibilities for the mayor, and your acceptance of both of them being fair, honorable legacies, to comments that could be seen and taken as being disparaging, being misaligned, or a way of misrecognizing what is happening. Comments that come from that sort of space that don't reflect, as I mentioned, the whole reason I'm here, don't reflect the ability to have this very visceral reaction to what you're seeing take place, but also willingness, openness, being soft enough to also ensure that conversation stays along a line that would make possible, that would create space for the legacies that you mentioned to be possible, even if it's only in the term that is allowable or is happening at this time that will end in however many months. What does it look like to come to the close of this term for the mayor and to have space that you help support cultivating that isn't disparaging to the mayor? What is there a version of that in your mind? And if so, how is that? What does it look like?
Absolutely, there's a version. Mayor Nakia Walker evolves from a childhood where probably she didn't have the most resources, right? No doubt. To a Virginia Commonwealth University degree. I mean, good God, right? That path alone is the sign of solutions and a winner. Then from a Virginia Commonwealth University degree, she utilizes a platform in front of council before and around August 12, 2017, to showcase to the community that she is unafraid to be the leader it needs. She's the first black female mayor in the history of a town. There are so many qualities of Mayor Nakia Walker that are admirable, that I would love to be a part of me. Like tenacity, courage, vision, being able to have the thickest skin ever. I mean, if the last week or so was tough emotionally for me, imagine what she's gone through her entire life, right? So I see all these qualities of like this winner and champion and solutions-oriented individual. But because of word choice, and choosing your words is a part of leadership. And choosing your words is a part of how people see you.
Sure.
Whether that's fair or not, that's how we are as humans. I see word choice that a lot of folks could not get beyond. And because of that, along with some policy and governance decisions that I don't agree with, we're in a predicament where in March of 2021, the music scene doesn't cater to black folks or brown folks. The brewery and vineyard scene doesn't cater to black or brown folks. We have 2, maybe 3 restaurants in the city of Charlottesville that are owned by black or brown folks. Mel's, Royalty Eats, can we think of others? I mean,
Help me understand why we're thinking of these in the pandemic.
because why I'm bringing this up is because
I own a business that's closing actually today due to the pandemic.
I know you do. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I don't see proof of performance pop. I don't see solutions. I don't see in this 3 years and 3 months that this community is more equitable financially, from an education standpoint, from a housing standpoint, from an opportunity standpoint. I see statues of Confederate nature in public parks, a downtown mall that's dominated by whites. I see a community that is only getting more white and rich. We are evolving into a bastion of white, wealthy people, a playground for folks that have disposable income.
Have you stopped to ask yourself if there are all these admirable things about the mayor that you're able to note, what would make her respond in the ways that you've witnessed and that we've noted of late? Have you stopped to be sincerely curious in asking yourself, here I have this woman who you've delineated so many things
that are amazing.
Right. What would influence this person who's in this role to say these things, to do these things?
I'm hesitant to answer that because that would be me speaking for her.
No, I'm asking you if you have stopped to consider why is this her word choice?
I think the emotional stress that comes with being the mayor during a pandemic, the emotional stress of being a mayor when the budget is so strapped that nonprofits aren't getting the funding they expected, the emotional stress that comes with the majority of positions at City Hall being open, having 5 city managers in her term, 2-3 police chiefs in her term, the emotional stress of seeing Confederate statues still there. Nothing's changed with the statues. I mean, we're still in 2021, almost 4 years from one of the darkest days in the history of the community. Statues are still there.
So your response then is?
I'm concerned. I am concerned. I am concerned of her. The first question that I often ask on the show, counselors, supervisors, state delegates, whatever it may be, how's your mental health?
So your what is your suggestion about the mayor's mental health?
I'm not making a suggestion.
Okay.
I think perhaps.
Why do you bring that up?
Perhaps what we are doing is asking so much of one person in a time that has never been experienced by mankind. Maybe you can make a comparison to the Spanish pandemic, the Spanish flu of 100 plus years ago, maybe. But how are we going to make that comparison when we weren't there, right?
Sure.
COVID, we don't know. The uncertainty and unknown of COVID, we can't predict or plan for. So here we have someone that has the weight of not only Charlottesville, but of Central Virginia on her shoulders.
Sure.
I can't even imagine that responsibility.
And so out of a place of concern, your response is to?
out of a place of concern, my response would be, you're not in this alone, that there are other folks in the community that can help, that we are willing to work together to move forward, to give us a shot not only as black people, brown people, but as white people.
Does she, where is she role-wise when this is carried out in the way that you suggest?
I don't know.
Now.
I don't understand that one.
So you said that you have concern that Mayor Walker is under she's under emotional duress because of everything that's happening
Absolutely.
in the world right now. And your response to that awareness or that recognition is wanting her to know that she's supported.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question is, well, what does that support look like for her now in this moment?
Not great. I think in 3 years and 3 months, she has polarized and alienated a large portion of the white community.
Okay. I hear that. Let's talk about, just because I'm here in your container, which is what I would love to focus on. And then by extension, any community that is impacted by it. What is your position in moving through an expression like the one you just had, where Mayor Walker, we see that you are experiencing a good amount of stress and it's impacting the way that you are leading? Would you say that would be how you are positioned? And you also said that you want her to know that she's supported. What does that look like from Jerry Miller and I Love Seville today?
What it looks like is this platform. I Love Seville reached over 253,000 people in 2020. Unique IP addresses. Over 250,000 people. That has, to own it and be the face of it, is tremendous responsibility.
Sure.
And I'm aware.
Yeah.
It's encouraged me to run for office, which I will announce soon. Finally got the green light from Mrs. Miller because she knows it's going to have a lot of time away from her and our boy.
Sure.
It's encouraged me to get more involved. People don't run for the Board of Supervisors or City Council because of the money.
Or the fun.
No.
So
Mayor Walker said in the Facebook Live with Dr. Wes Bellamy that if you broke down what she was paid an hour to be the mayor of Charlottesville, 11 cents per hour. She makes $20K a year as the mayor. The councilors make 18. The Board of Supervisors in Albemarle County make even less. They don't do this for money or for fun. They do this because they have the tenacity, the thick skin, the vision, the willingness to contribute to a community that means something to them.
what would it look like for you to support that now?
I would like the community to be more focused.
What would it look like for you to support it right now?
To support the mayor?
Yeah.
I'm happy to host her on the show. She can come whenever she wants. It's a platform that reaches more people than the news, than NBC 29.
What do you feel that would be the extent of? Is that the scope of your willingness?
No.
You can come to my show and speak. What is the?
We can utilize the show to encourage the following of the show to get back to get behind solution-oriented policy. A solution-oriented policy that creates affordability in housing, equity in education, solution-oriented policy that creates diversity in thought, that preserves historically African-American neighborhoods. If we're not careful, I mean, it's already, you go down 10th and Page by Peloton Station, by Red Hub Food Co., and you know those really colorful houses that are on 10th Street?
Yeah.
Those things are selling for over $400K.
Yeah.
When I was in college at UVA, we're relatively the same age, right? Relatively the same age. Remember in college, and you grew up here, I did not. You know one of the first things they said to me at Dabney 101, my RA in the Dabney dorm, don't go past 10th Street. Then it was Orbit, not Boylan Heights. It was Orbits. You don't go past Orbits if you're a UVA student. My buddy, I won't use their last names, my buddy Dave, my buddy Tom, and my buddy Shannon, we bought a laminator, some gold fluorescent paint, and some high glossy printing paper. And we made fake New Jersey IDs. And we utilized those fake New Jersey IDs to hop. First, we got on the trolley because we didn't have cars. We took the trolley down West Main to the downtown mall. We walked into Miller's because the agents of Good Roots were playing a show at Miller's. We utilized our fake New Jersey IDs to get into Miller's as 18-year-olds. We sat down at Miller's. We left 15 minutes later because the entire bar screamed, UVA students aren't welcome here. And so we left. And we went back to our bubble. Today, that bubble is so different. I think it's probably because of social and digital, public transportation, Lyft and Uber. Folks can get to and from places easier, learn about places. But when I was 18, all I knew was what was told by the RA on the hall.
Yeah.
Because I was just a dumb kid.
So my question remains, what does it look like for Jerry Miller and the I Love Seville show to come alongside the mayor now?
I would say...
And to create green space around the work that she's doing so that for the term remaining, she has space where she feels that if she is in a space, in fact, where she is under duress, as you describe, that she feels that she can lean into her community to be heard, to be seen, and to have these solutions, this co-creation of solutions take place. In order to have that connection and safety, what does it look like for that to be something that is established, cultivated, curated in this square footage that you have?
I would say to her, and I hope she's watching or someone passes it along to her if she's not, I would say to her that anytime she'd like, she's welcome here. I would say if she has ideas that are solutions oriented, that push us forward as a community in totality.
Are we going straight to the solutions, or are we, because part of getting to the solutions and feeling the safety is recognition of the pain,
I think,
and naming the pain and acknowledging that.
I think the 3 years and 3 months she's been in office, we've recognized the pain. She's done as good a job as anyone as recognizing and acknowledging the dysfunction and inequality in this community. She is in the...
Is there a limit?
She has a gold jacket, Hall of Fame gold jacket on when it comes to that.
According to who?
I mean, I guess from my standpoint, I haven't... And you have Dr. Wes Bellamy, you have Mayor Nakia Walker, Holly Edwards. Off the top of my head, 3 African Americans that have been on council. Of the 3, and my history doesn't go as far back as yours, of the 3, my standpoint, she's done the best job of spotlighting the inequalities we have here.
So do you feel that she should be done with that?
No, ma'am. I think she should continue doing that. I think what she should also be doing is creating policy and action that leads us to solutions. And I would use the entire weight of this network to get behind those solutions and those ideas that lead the community forward. I would champion them. I would embrace them. I understand the reach and influence we have. I would explain to folks why this is a great idea. I would be the first one waving the flag saying, let's go, we can do this. I swear to God I would do that. I swear to God I would do that.
What does it look like for the mayor to draw a comparison, maybe using different words? if she used different words, what would it look like in your mind, since the words are what stop you? What if we take that out of the equation? And the communication is, this is the reality that I'm witnessing, living in, experiencing. What if to that someone says yes, period? What does that look like?
I don't follow.
What if when she names what she's witnessing from her perspective, what she's seeing, what she's digesting and processing, she vocalizes it to the community in strong words? Out of all the words we know that exist in the world, she picks the strongest, her finest words. Maybe different ones than she used, maybe the same. What does it look like to say, yes, this is true. I accept this as being true.
I think it looks like this. Charlottesville, Virginia, and Mayor Walker, and all of us that live in and around Central Virginia. Government in Charlottesville destroyed an African American neighborhood that was home to 100 to 200 families. Took their houses away, closed their businesses.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me about it. I know, man. I know all about it. My dad grew up here as well, and So what?
I think a lot of folks that are watching don't know about it.
Okay, so you're saying for the benefit,
Yeah.
for the benefit of the
Yeah,
audience. Sure.
I think a lot of folks in this community aren't as knowledgeable as we are when it comes to what's happened in Vinegar Hill.
Okay.
And until we recognize what taking the businesses and top asset in a retirement portfolio, a home, away from 100 to 200 people, and the generational impact that has had on families and descendants of those people,
Yeah.
then we aren't truly recognizing or saying, Jesus, look at what we did.
Yeah, well, what does it look like to do that, is what I'm asking.
I think what it looks like to do it is what happened at Vinegar Hill. I think the next step is we have to create a plan to move forward, because right now, right before our eyes, it's happening in the form of gentrification in 10th and Page, Fifeville, and Prospect.
So you want it to hurry up and happen.
The only difference is it's happening from a legal standpoint,
Yeah.
by the increasing of taxes, assessments,
Sure.
and folks from outside the community moving in. So if we don't move judiciously and quickly,
Yeah.
before we know it, what's Orangedale going to be? What's Cherry Avenue going to be? You know, what is West Haven going to be?
What if the person who is trying to do that expeditiously and judiciously is coming in contact with the very thing? I don't know what she's coming in contact with, but I know based on her interviews, based on what she is vocalizing, there's some barrier. What does it look like to be curious about what the barrier is and to come alongside to support?
I'm very curious of the barrier.
Are you curious about what the barrier is?
I am.
So you feel like you have like no sight into it, no theories about it, no, what does it look like to acknowledge that there's a barrier? Yes.
There is a barrier. There's undoubtedly a barrier.
Okay.
I know there's a barrier. I mean, she's sitting on council with 4 white people next to her. You know, I mean, I think she's mentioned this in a Facebook Live, that she's the first college graduate
Yeah.
of her family from VCU.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's like. There is a barrier.
So you think, where do you think the barrier, like, is it possible for you? Like, if you were to imagine into the kind of opposition that the mayor might be naming and trying to shout from the rooftops to her community in the ways that she has, to bring sincere curiosity to what she might be talking about, looks like what for you? What does it mean to come alongside that and support that? Support the role she's in dealing with whatever that is.
I will, wow, it's 2:10.
Yeah.
Oh my,
I don't have a watch.
I will, so I know, I just looked at the clock for the first time. Oh my God, we've gone 100 minutes.
Wow.
Testament to you. I think it looks like, that's literally the first time I looked at the clock right there.
Well, thank you for being
No,
fully
you're
present in
oh
the
my God,
conversation with me.
No, that's you. That is you. That is 100% you. I guess I'll say this. If we have a clear-cut, solutions-oriented path from Mayor Nikiah Walker that is a solution-oriented path for the community in totality, I will be the first, I will camp out overnight to be the first in line.
But the path to that has to be through seems to be through a kind of pain, through a kind of unraveling, through a kind of uncovering.
Can I ask you this question to close?
Yeah.
In 3 years and 3 months,
You have this time thing that I hear you being very committed to.
well, I mean, the terms are 4 years.
Absolutely, but
Yeah.
to accomplish, what kind of weight are we assigning to that 4 years and possibility to execute the things that you are we also diminishing? What are we diminishing in order to get to this end game that you feel so focused on, having it be accomplished in this span of time,
I guess here's
as
how,
opposed to being cumulative?
here's how I'd like to close, and then you close her out. Do you get final word? Use anything you want. The show is I swear to God, it's you close it out anywhere you want to go. And I'm not even going to say 3 years and 3 months. Since August 12th, 2017, we still have Confederate statues in public parks. There's been very little progress on affordable housing. The educational inequalities in our school systems has been magnified and increased. We have no live music venues that cater to black and brown people first. We have 2 restaurants that are owned by black people. We have a downtown mall, the most important 8 blocks, that is dominated by white people. We have 3 historical African American communities that are about to be not African American. We have over 70% of the citizens who live in the community are white. What has changed since August 12, 2017 in Charlottesville? And that's how I'll close.
You can't ask an open-ended question to me. You can ask to the world.
To the
But
viewers.
I was going to say I
To the viewers.
have answers.
To the viewers.
To the viewers. Yeah. And so I think my closing thoughts. Firstly, thank you for inviting me to sit with you. I appreciate your openness and your focus
For sure.
on our time together, and just wanting to leave that in the space. What does it look like for there to be spaciousness and to be support and true seeing of, if there is someone who is in distress and this person we've raised to be our leader and they're experiencing pressure and they want to be supported in the work that they're doing, they want to experience collaborative effort and are seeking that. What does it look like? What does it look like to come alongside, to name that if the mayor's vision, which I doubt that she would be doing the work that she's doing if the mission was not to have a high goal for Charlottesville. If there is this mutuality of desire between the people of Charlottesville and the mayor of Charlottesville to have the city move forward. We're not opposite or opposing goals. We want to move the city forward. What does it look like to get into the ugly of it, the things that are in the way, to unpack those things, to name them, to accept them, to recognize them, to have them be true, to not rush past it for the sake of trying to get to some other destination, but to truly do the healing? What does the true healing look like? Can we put a time on it? Can we put a tone on it? Can we put even a title on it? What does it look like? to have us work together to sit in the discomfort, to sit in the disgust and the repulsion and the upset, and just be with it, to let it be, to say that it belongs, mine and yours, and whoever else is. We'll all just be here in it for a bit. And we'll acknowledge our experiences and the others. And then we find the way forward. What does it look like to find the way forward from there? That's my question, in this particular space, and I think my question by extension to anyone who's thinking about what it looks like to reconcile anything. You got to go into the meat of it, unpack it, even if it's ugly, even if it smells bad, even if it makes you vomit, right? So I think those are my parting thoughts. So thank you for the time and the space.
I very much enjoy how you challenge thought, but in a way where who you're conversating with doesn't feel threatened. Like you're able to challenge in a way where I didn't feel closed off or standoffish, which allowed more real conversation to happen.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, you can do it.
The connection. I mean, I think that's how we heal. There's so many things that we need to heal from as individual people and as people who share space together as humans in the world, not just in Charlottesville. Charlottesville is a microcosm. You are a microcosm. I am a microcosm, right? Like these things are just layered, and it reiterates. It's the same thing over and over again. We need to be connected. And in order to be connected, we have to be able to hear and see each other. And we have to be able to extend generosity and respect, even if we disagree, even if we're standing in opposition, even if there's friction or discomfort. We have to be able to be present enough to be with what we feel, and also see if there can be just enough room to honor what somebody else is experiencing as well, so that we can share ideas, so that we can synthesize together, digest together, and hopefully move forward together, or make a decision to consciously. We can say that it's been conscious. We've made a conscious decision because we've parsed through and found that this is not something that any of us want. We don't want to go in this direction. So we consciously decide to go in separate directions. So even that can be conscious and thoughtful and respectful. I think we also have to acknowledge that some folks are just tired. Some folks, as you mentioned, have stress. And so that's when folks like myself, maybe, and people like me who have capacity, when we have capacities to help open up and make the spaciousness so that we can keep green and not dry out and go our separate ways and not ever hear one another's stories or experiences in ways that bring us forward.
Yolanda Coles-Jones, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is an extended version of the I Love CVille show, the longest one we have ever done. First time we looked at the clock was at 2:10, which is amazing, and a testament to her, a tribute to her. I think it was a real conversation, as real a conversation as I've ever had in my life, right here. We'll have Troy Razor Robinson on the Wednesday show to have a conversation similar from a male point of view, African American male. The show is the I Love CVille show, where we try to challenge, where we try to agree or disagree, and just have real talk. I want to thank you guys for joining us today on a Monday. We'll see you tomorrow at 12:30. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Okay. Put my face back up.